Believe it or not, we're actually a lot closer to NFL training camp starting than you might think. Some of the earliest camp report dates are around like July 15th. I think one team has like a range of like July 12th to 16th. I think it's an AFC West team, but most training camps are going to be starting from the July 15th all the way throughout like July 21st. By the 21st, you really start seeing a lot of teams start reporting. Some teams have veterans report a little bit later than rookies. What we need to talk about is when we have training camp, that means guys are out there practicing. You load up Sleeper. Everyone's uploading clips of their favorite guy that's definitely not on their team. I mean, it's just complete bias. The clips we start seeing, we're going to see Mekhi Lemon glazed. We're going to see all the rookies getting glazed. So we got to talk about, this is where we're going to start seeing value swings. We've had an off season where we've had free agent signings, we've had the draft, and that's definitely impacted value based on the amount of opportunities some of these players will be getting. But now we're going to start seeing more footage and, new faces, or same faces in different spaces. Guys that are on new teams, we're going to see how they mesh chemistry wise with their new quarterback, with their new receiving core, things of that nature. So we got to break down 21 names today. These 21 guys are the most likely players to have value upticks. So really you could call them buys because you want to be hanging on to them now when their value is about to trend up. The first one is a group of three. It's the Raiders wide receiver room. Now, who is the Raiders wide receiver room? You might ask. I'm glad you asked. I had to do my research as well. It's three guys. I don't know which one of them will uptick in value. I have my personal guess. And really, the three guys, get a load of this. Trey Tucker, about to finish his rookie contract, going into year 4, wants to get paid. And Trey Tucker, if we break it down, he actually has had back-to-back seasons. Trey Tucker has given you 5 usable games. He had a 41-point game last year. Let's not forget this. Now, to me, Trey Tucker screams best ball player, downfield threat, inconsistent. And the Raiders quarterback situation, you're going to have Kirk Cousins start, then it's going to pass the torch to Mendoza at some point. I think Tucker's he's definitely going to have a role. He did have 5 targets a game in 2025. He's going to have more opportunity. Is he a stud? You're going to have Jack Besh. Now, Jack Besh was dog crap in last year. 2 points per game. And, he did get his snap rate increasing by the end of the year. Didn't really do much of anything with those snaps. I don't think Jack Besh looked all that great, but he does profile out to be the number 2 wide receiver on the Raiders this year. And he's the youngest, the most developmental upside, you could say, because the third wide receiver, and this is who I would stake my flag for, is Jalen Nailor. Now, why would I plant my flag on Jalen Nailor when Trey Tucker has historically been more productive and is younger? Yes, follow the money. Jalen Nailor just got $23 million guaranteed from the Raiders. That's not all they paid him. The contract is 3 years, $35 million. Now, your ears are not clogged. That is correct. They gave Jalen Nailor $35 million. So Nailor's going to automatically be the wide receiver 1. He will be out there running routes. Now, we've seen him have solid games. 23 points, 124 yards last year. He had a 2 touchdown game against Dallas last year. Back in 2024, he had 1, 2, 3. I'm seeing him score touchdowns and have some touchdown dependent oscillatory, touchdown dependent scoring. I think Nailor could have, he's most likely to have a role in this offense. Now, the reason I have this trio as a group that's going to uptick in value is because there's going to be stories that come out that this is the front-running candidate to lead this Raiders wide receiver room. Whoever's getting the most targets and making the most of them at training camp, that's where you're going to really start seeing the buzz. And then it's going to be like, oh, now I know who the Raiders wide receiver is. It's Jalen Nailor. Oh, it's Trey Tucker. It's Jack Besh. Jack Besh looks good this year, right? So we're going to start seeing those headlines. I think any of those three can rise in value. I want to go to the Colts next. And the Colts, there's really only one guy I'm looking for is Tyler Warren. And it's tied to Indiana Jones. We're going to have to start hearing some positive Daniel Jones buzz that he's back to his pre-injury form. Okay. But Tyler Warren had a terrible end to 2025, his rookie year. Phillip Rivers had an average yard per target to Tyler Warren of 3 yards per target. But earlier in the year, Tyler Warren was averaging 12 points per game with Daniel Jones. His yards per target was double digits. Michael Pittman Jr. leaving this offense, do not underestimate the impact that's going to have. Tyler Warren will soak up those targets with a sponge. I expect him to have an insane training camp, and I really think that now he's the best and only wide receiving option on the Colts. So look for him to have an uptick in value. Let's go to the Jaguars, where there's two guys I want to look for in training camp. Brian Thomas Jr. We're already seeing, like, prior to training camp, we're already hearing, oh, Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence, they've been working on their chemistry together. And I sure hope they have, because the chemistry was terrible last year. BTJ was not efficient with his targets, which 6.5 targets per game still isn't terrible, but he was nothing compared to his rookie year, where he had 17 points per game. Amazing metrics, right? So typically you expect a year 2 breakout and improvement. We had a year 2 failure for BTJ. Parker the Pest is the other name to watch for. Jacoby Myers, not worried about it. Travis Hunter, not worried about it. I expect Brian Thomas Jr. to actually be back at 14 plus points per game. And Parker Washington, what I want to see here for Parker, and BTJ I think is one of the best buy lows in all of Dynasty, but Parker Washington is not really being valued as a productive wide receiver. But last year he had 11 points per game, and looking at that, like the back half of the year, 3 straight weeks, 27, 19, and 20. 3 straight weeks averaging 10 targets per game. And you did have some storylines coming out of Jaguars earlier this offseason that Parker Washington is actually going to be the real deal. I think he could be the wide receiver too. I think it'll be inconsistent. I think he's a really good best ball asset. I won't be surprised if he's a solid flex play some of these weeks in 2026 as well. So I want to monitor the Parker situation, but definitely BTJ is going to have positive training camp buzz. This is a risky name to bring up. I really don't want to bring it up, and I don't want you guys buying him. I don't want you guys having him. I want you selling him. Christian McCaffrey upticks in value every day that he is healthy. It's simple. We all understand it. We all know it. He is a league-winning running back when healthy. The stats are not telling any other story than that. Last year, again, one of his career years, 25 points per game. You know, nobody is really surprised, but I am surprised that he played 17 games. Am I scared for his health this year again? Yes. Is he 30 years old? Yes. Would I be selling? Yes. But every single day that he's healthy, his value just goes up. Because you're one day closer to week 1 when you're getting 30 points from your running back position, right? So CMC has to be on this list. Kenyon Sadiq. Guys, I like Sadiq so much that I was taking him at the 105 in rookie drafts. He's getting picked at the 108 in rookie drafts. I think Sadiq's going to have a huge uptick in value when people understand that he's Mason Taylor's replacement. Taylor, you're out of town, buddy. And Sadiq is an athletic freak that's going to be having a lot of opportunities on a Jets offense that's not going to be having any leads, and they're going to be playing from behind. So I think Geno Smith can facilitate Sadiq to get some production earlier in the year. I think that he's going to have a solid role in this Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., and Adonai Mitchell receiving room. Okay. Bashal Tuden is going to be one of the names that is going to definitely have a potential huge burst in value. It's Chris Rodriguez, or it's Bashal Tuden, or is it LaQuint Allen Jr.? A lot of questions in this Jaguars running back room. Now, to me, it's clear that it's going to be Bashal Tuden taking the majority of the work. What's the majority? Is it 50%? Is it 70%? I don't know, but LaQuint Allen Jr. is so good at pass pro. I know LaQuint Allen's probably going to have 20% of the snaps. Okay. Chris Rodriguez, to me, is a nobody. He probably has, I know he had an efficient, final year in Washington, whatever. Yeah, I'll give him 30%, which I do think leaves Bashal Tuden at 50. I think he'll start, having half the snaps. He's going to profile out as a receiving back and the first and second down back mixed in with Rodriguez. I think that he works his way up as the season progresses, but I do think that people are going to, like this fact that we're going to see him as the first guy out there in training camp. I think that improves his value. Michael Wilson. Really, this is tied to Jacoby Brissett, but Michael Wilson's an interesting one, right? You have a guy right here in a contract year coming off of a back half of the season where he averaged 20 points per game with Jacoby Brissett. Carson Beck, the impending fact that he will be starting is scary. Don't like that whatsoever. But it looks like Brissett's going to have a chance, hopefully. I mean, as of right now, he's still holding out. But if Michael Wilson has positive buzz coming out of training camp, because this is one, I actually had him featured in my video where it's like nobody knows what to do with these players. You're pretty much guessing. That's pretty much what it is. Like, everyone's scared. They don't really want to touch him with a 10-foot pole. It's like playing roulette. Like, was it a fluke? I don't know. You don't know. You know, he doesn't know. So I want to see some positive buzz around Wilson out of camp, and then that would just cause people to be more confident in him, and ultimately of uptick in value. Let's go with Malik Willis. Malik Willis, I don't think he's going to be insane. I don't think he's going to have a chance to be a good passer because the receiving room is so bad. And honestly, you can include Malik Washington as well, because I think Malik Washington and Malik Willis, I think they played together in the Senior Bowl. I'm not sure about that, but I think that they're going to have the greatest chance to support each other's value and production. I think Malik Willis is going to be running for his life in training camp, and that's actually going to be a good thing. And I think the Dolphins fans and reporters are probably going to glaze him as well because they have nobody else, no other hope really beyond Malik Willis. Don't be surprised if Willis rises in value because he's actually quite low. I actually like him a lot from a fantasy points per game perspective and the opportunity he'll have. David Montgomery. This one's simple. It's kind of like Bashal Tutin. David Montgomery is 29 years old. Guys, this is someone that can be so productive not only in the red zone, but he can just be a straight up efficient runner. He hasn't really had as many carries as you would think on his body because he's been splitting carries a lot of his career. He's going to be splitting carries again with Woody Marks. Woody Marks will have a role. Let's just lay that out there. But David Montgomery was brought in to be the RB1. And RB1 he shall be in the Texans offense that if the O-line can hold up, it'll be a better offense than we expect with CJ Stroud also needing a bounce back year from last year. I expect Montgomery to be double-digit points per game this year. He's been like that his entire career. Down season for sure in 2025. You had the new coaching staff in Detroit only giving him 37% of the snaps. And he had a 10-point per game. That's actually insane. Really good average based on the snap data. But I think that his value will rise when we see him as the RB1 in Texans training camp. Okay. Isaiah Likely. This guy's value already is on the ascend. We're hearing buzz that Jackson Dart and Likely, they have a good connection. Now, Malik Neighbors is AFK. He's missing. Malik Neighbors is injured as always. So I think that means that not only can Isaiah Likely rise in value, I want to talk about Malachi Fields. I think Fields as a rookie too is going to get some extra looks at training camp where we could see Fields potentially showcase his skills. He's got a big athletic frame. I think Likely and Fields could be some risers as we progress here in the next couple of weeks. Rashad White, again, we're hitting on running backs that are going to probably have more opportunity than people expect. And I think Rashad White is one of those guys that could uptick in value, especially like we expect him to have the third down role, especially in receiving situations and pass pro. But if we can see Rashad White out there mixing in with the first and second down players, maybe at a 50% snap share again, he's going to be fantasy relevant if that's the case. Drew Aller. Now, this might be jumping the gun because it's the Aaron Rodgers show. We all know that. But I think that, I mean, I'm probably gonna have to make this video again after the training camp period and talk about, you know, preseason. That's kind of why I have Drew Aller in here. I think Drew Aller actually is going to surprise people to the upside during preseason games. I think he has more rushing upside and ability than people expect. Definitely has a good arm. Problem is he has no brain inside of his head. With that said, I think Drew Aller probably does slightly uptick in value with a couple good performances. Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is 30 years old. That's scary. Hey, you can buy him for a bag of peanuts. Mark Andrews is going to give you double-digit points per game. I know he's coming off of a career worst year. There's some injury concerns, but back-to-back years, he hasn't missed time. The snap data has been bad the last 3 years. Instead of getting rid of Andrews and keeping Likely, they punt Likely like a football, and they sign Andrews to a 3-year, $30+ million deal. Andrews is going to be heavily involved and the only tight end in this Baltimore room now. I think he bounces back in a big way, and it's not really like training camp's going to change much, but maybe people will realize, hey, Likely's out of town. This is the Andrews show now. Talk about Gunnar Helm. Similar story here, except this guy's athletic. Like in preseason last year, I think he had like 3 touchdowns in 3 games. Gunnar Helm did. Really big athletic frame, kind of slow, but did enough to get this Titans staff, coaching staff, to move on from Chig Okonkwo. Now, I don't believe in Cam Ward. I don't believe in the Titans. You guys all understand that, but I do think Gunnar Helm can be a heck of a player. He's a name to watch for sure. Isaac Tesla. I really want to see Tesla as the guaranteed wide receiver 3 here in Detroit. I think Raymond's out of town. But I think they brought in Greg Dortch, which is he's gonna have definitely a special teams role. But I'm hoping Tesla can lock down that wide receiver 3 spot. He was super efficient and effective in the red zone last year. He's an athletic freak, but I want to see him playing more snaps and potentially being able to show that he can compete with a guy like Jameson Williams if he was to miss time, or if Jameson Williams has any off-field issue. We got 2 names left. Let's go with Deshaun Watson. Guys, Deshaun Watson and Shedeur, you can tie them both in. Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. I don't know who's going to ascend in value more, but I know that Deshaun Watson has a higher points per game scoring ceiling just because of the fact that when we've seen him play prior to the injury, which scares me here, the injury, but he does have about 20 to 30 rushing yards per game to give you, historically speaking. He hasn't played football in 4 years, but does have a decent supporting cast now in Cleveland. I'll say it. And a couple young rookies. I think that Deshaun Watson will probably be the first guy to get a chance based on following the money. I think Shedeur Sanders could rise in value as well. And that actually was the last name because we already touched on Malik Washington. So that's 21 guys, man, to watch out for in training camp. Felt like a good video. Hope you guys understood. Go join the Discord. Free trade advice, free team reviews. I'll see you boys in the next one. Let me know if you got any questions. Peace.